Hi, I'm Renarta Clanton Moyd. I'm a communications specialist with the Cumberland County Schools and your host of Get Connected. During this monthly show, we highlight numerous educational topics that face today's student, educator, and parent in the Cumberland County Schools. Now, on August 27th, the school system opened its doors to welcome more than 50,000 students and over 3,000 teachers who follow the traditional calendar. They joined the 2,500 students who returned to our year-round schools on July 16th. As we start another year, we thought it would be great to discuss Cumberland County Schools' recent successes and see how the school system is charting the course for future achievements on this edition of Get Connected.
It's never too early to start reading to your kids. There are amazing possibilities when you open a child's mind to reading. Explore new worlds. Read.
Take my hand and start a brand new day. And together as one we'll start to see some change.
Underneath everything we are, underneath everything we do, we are all people, connected, interdependent, united. And when we reach out a hand to one, we can influence the condition of all. That's what it means to live united.
Thanks for joining us for this edition of Get Connected. We'll be discussing the school system's recent successes and its direction during the upcoming school year. Now, joining us is the Superintendent of the Cumberland County Schools, Dr. Frank Till, the Chairman of the Board of Education, Mr. Larry Lancaster, and the Associate Superintendent of Business Operations for the school system, Mr. Ricky Lopes. Gentlemen, welcome.
Good to be here.
Good to be here.
All right.
Thanks for the invitation.
Well, I'm glad you're here.
Thanks
glad
for the
you're
invitation.
here. Another wonderful school year has begun, and we're in it to win it once again, correct?
In it to win it.
Correct.
Now, I understand that we had a big celebration August 21st. Tell me, what was the reasoning behind the celebration? What went on during this time?
Well, it really started, the idea started a year ago with the idea that we needed to refocus ourselves around some new languages. So a year ago, we went to the Crown and to celebrate our test course and to set a marker on the ground to say that under race to top we're going to improve. And really we're going to do it the one time. But it was so successful and people wanted to come back, particularly those who hadn't achieved well. And we came back this year to celebrate again, and we had significant achievement to celebrate. So it was good that we came back.
That's good. And I know you all have received feedback about, how spirited it was. What have you all heard from employees? Because we had like all employees.
All employees.
All employees there.
Big crowd. Well over 6,000.
6,500.
Yeah, I mean, all of our staff. And Alan November did a great job. And basically it was about empowering students through the use of technology, which it is, and I'm sure we'll talk about this later on in our broadcast, but it's significant today in this world that our children be interconnected all over the world and have that education that we want our children to enjoy, because it's just a click away. It's just a click away. And we want our children to have the same advantage that all the other children in America have when it comes to this thing called education.
That's good. That's good. Did you want to add anything, Ricky?
No, it's just that there's a lot of excitement there. They bring everybody back for that one celebration. And anytime you can celebrate a success, it's a good thing. And this year was very exciting because we did so well with our test scores. I just think collectively it was a good time for everybody to be together and celebrate that success.
That's great. And you know what? I noticed the phrase celebrating True North. That was kind of where we were going. Now, what is True North? And how did this catchphrase become a part of the Cumberland County Schools?
Well, it actually started a little bit before last summer, where we were looking at making some changes and talked about resetting the leadership compass. And that was a sort of a theme for a meeting we had with international consultant Michael Fullen about really resetting what we were doing to really point towards true north. That's what a compass does. And so, thanks to Ron Phipps, who deserves a great deal of credit, we found a measurement a couple years ago where it was a predictor score for every child that really predicted a child should do that with decent teaching, not with great teaching, with decent teaching. And so we believed if every child made that score, they would be there, and that would be true north. And so that's where it came from, getting true north, focusing on the individual child as opposed to proficiency scores and things such as that.
That's good. And I know, Dr. Till, in a previous interview we did on the radio, you were talking about the fact that it seems as though a lot of our educators do realize and are understanding now that all children, not just some, but all children will learn, and a lot of them are truly embracing that thought.
When you look at our scores, and we had schools that hadn't moved for a while and were lower, look at our graduation rate where every one of our high schools is above the state average. You only do that when people believe that children can learn. If people don't believe that children can learn, then you really can't do anything. The staff development, things such as that, is not working, but we have a staff that believe in our children that they're a future and that they all can learn.
Mm-hmm. That's good. And I know, Mr. Lancaster, with you, at your background, you were once, I believe I remember, a principal, a coach, you just a gamut. So I'm sure you kind of see, as the board chair, and then coming from the standpoint of an educator that was there in the trenches, so to speak, that we are evolving.
Well, we are, and part of our responsibility as a board, other than policy, which gives us some governance of the county, but our focus and our review of our test scores, it's going to be hard to duplicate, but we're certainly very pleased with what we see. But our focus will always be on the child, and our commitment will always be, and you said it best, we believe all children can learn. Mm-hmm. We're going to bridge that gap of achievement. We're going to make sure that our high school seniors continue to graduate. We're going to make sure that all kids can learn. We're going to see some great things happen because of that commitment that we have, that we believe in children. And that's where our focus has continued, will continue to be. A strong focus on academic achievement and with an understanding that all children can learn.
That's good, that's good. And it's like we were saying earlier, it's good that we have dedicated staff who really do believe that. And with that, we mentioned a little earlier, technology and a click away. That's what you said, a click away. What are some of the advances that we are starting to see in our classrooms and across the county as far as technology is concerned?
Well, there's a couple of things. First, thanks to the great financial stewardship of our district by Mr. Lopes and his looking after that. We went through some tough times, but we got raised to the top money. And he, working along with Kevin Coleman, have put together a plan which allowed us to, by the end of this school year, every one of our buildings will be wireless. Last year we gave laptops to all of our teachers. We're rolling out more technology in our schools, because it's the new wave, it's the expanded piece that we're trying to do. But it all breaks down to money and the fact that we got that one-time money, because the state has been such that if we had counted on state dollars, we would not be as far along as we are right now.
Mm-hmm. And you know what, teleconferencing as well. That's something else that, talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, we started this year, we're running around a few classes where if you come to our staff development center, we actually are teaching by teleconference to schools. So we have small classes right now, but they're teaching that, and it'll expand out. So now we're talking about using teleconferencing for our principals meetings, and we're using webinars, and we're using a wide variety of things to keep people on campus, particularly with this high gas price.
Oh yeah.
A meeting's very expensive just from a gas point of view. So we're doing more to keep people on campus where the students are.
That's good.
Dr. Till mentioned the laptops. Kevin and our race to the top money, we were able, and we will be able soon, to have rolled out 9,000 laptop computers.
Wow. And
that, coupled with smart boards, the teleconferencing that we're talking about, continuing to make sure that we're wireless everywhere. One of the things that fascinated me the other day with part of what we talked about, it's almost instant feedback. And I think Alan November said within a second, and our kids have those smart response little devices.
Oh, yes. I've
So
seen
I think that's very clever and very unique that we have an opportunity with our students when they're being taught. They just make a click, and a teacher's going to be able to monitor and adjust that child's answer just a click away, just a click away. And that's exciting that we have advanced that far in such a short period of time.
So Race to the Top funding has been great. Now, what happens after, 2 years with the funding? Once it's up, then what are we looking at there?
Well, the intent of the money was to bring about change, and so we knew that it was not sustainable. So we did not hire employees with the Race to the Top money. And so we use that for technology. We're using it for staff development. We're using it to train our teachers, our staff. So we know that money will be gone in 2014. So being one-time money, it will not be there anymore after the September of 2014.
Okay then. So I'm sure we have another plan, and we'll just continue to chart our course forward.
Well, I think the key is that the plan, very honestly, as Ricky has talked about, is, in fact, I was telling somebody today, I'm willing to put our school system against any school system in America who's got Race to the Top money, and have somebody show me a more dedicated group of people to changing the system. When we change it, it won't be about the technology, or I like to call them the gadgets or the gadgets. It'll be about new teaching. And with new teaching, new technology will come. We'll find a way to make the new technology work. And you know this, the Apples, the HPs, and things like that are already creating new technology. But the key is it's the person who uses the technology. It's not the technology that's the innovation, it's that teacher that's the innovation.
Exactly, the brain behind.
The brain behind it.
Exactly.
And I think with an understanding that problems that we face today cannot be solved with the same thinking that when those problems were created. And I think we're developing a culture that understands that gives us a better understanding of how to do problem solving.
That's good. And you know what, I know that we're getting close to break, but I want to talk to you all about just something right here, and if we have to spill over, then that's fine. We'll pick it back up. But I know that Cumberland County Schools is a high-growth district. Woo woo! Yay!
Yes,
good thing.
Yeah.
Talk to us about this accomplishment.
It's very significant in that the high growth, if you're a school and you're called high growth, it's the highest award you can receive as an individual school. So if you can imagine a school with 55,000 students in a school and it achieving high growth, that's what Cumberland County did. And so we looked at that, we measured it, but again it breaks back to the 55,000 students only made high growth because 53% of our schools made high growth, and the significant number of our teachers made high growth. If we didn't have those teachers making that difference in the classroom, we would have never achieved the overall here. And so I always break it down from the macro to the micro. It's that individual classroom teacher that believes all children can learn and making it happen.
That's good. And it's so good to see when we have leadership and when we have staff developments where our teachers are starting to really share with one another and share some of those best practices instead of, kind of hoarding them. We're coming out of that island mentality.
Well, we preach, and we really strongly believe as a board and as a system, and with our cabinet, and certainly through the superintendent, that that piece called collaboration. And I think that's made a significant difference. If you're doing something great, why not share it with the rest of us? And because I've said it before, and I'll keep saying it, it truly takes each of us to make a difference for all of us. And as long as everybody's lifting, that load is not as heavy. And that's one of the things that's made us a whole lot more successful. And I think the promise and the outlook for good things to come in the future, it's looking great.
All right. Well, on that note, maybe you ought to come over here to this. On that note, we're going to take a quick break, okay? All right.
Gotcha.
Okay. Don't go anywhere. Hang around for more Get Connected.
Horseradish. Is that for horses? Remember me, Mr. Lobster? From last Tuesday? Banana. 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 Here comes the rain. We need a hat. And why do we need a hat? That's right.
When you talk with your child, you build vocabulary, and learning starts long before school does. For more tips, go to bornlearning.org.
I'm a single mother of 2 kids. I work a lot. We do miss a lot. He dropped off for a whole month. Sometimes I would talk to him and he wouldn't even turn around and look at me. I just get frustrated because in any way that I talk to him, it just doesn't go through his head. I didn't give up because there's always hope.
Give your teen the boost they need to graduate. Call 1-877-4A-KID or join us at boostup.org for tips and advice.
Thanks for joining us for this edition of Get Connected. Our guests are the Superintendent of the Cumberland County Schools, Dr. Frank Till, the Chairman of the Board of Education, Mr. Larry Lancaster, and the Associate Superintendent of Business Operations, Mr. Ricky Lopes. Now, we're discussing the school system's recent successes and its direction during the school year. Now, Ricky, let me ask you this. We were talking a little earlier about Race to the Top funding and the fact that in a couple of years that will come to an end. But talk to us about the overall budget in general, past and present.
If we go back to 2008 when the recession really hit, it hit the states really hard. Well, in North Carolina, 70% of our education budget comes from the state, and so we saw some significant cuts. Well, the federal government saw that and put in some stimulus dollars to help overcome some of the cuts that the states were facing. The hope was that after the federal stimulus money expired, that the states would pick back up what they had lost over the last 3 or 4 years. And unfortunately, in North Carolina, that didn't happen. And specifically in Cumberland County this year, we're dealing with a budget that's $16 million less than what we had last year. So that makes the achievements that we've attained even that more significant because we're dealing with fewer dollars. And so the federal stimulus dollars expired, and the state made the decision not to make the resources available for us to maintain our 2008 budget. We're still below where we were at in 2008.
Okay. So now, as far as reserves, I mean, talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, fortunately, with Dr. Till's guidance and the board's direction, we decided that we would use the fund balance, which is our reserve, to maintain the same level of funding that we had last year. We made the commitment that we were not going to have the layoffs and the cuts that we had a year ago. And so we made that commitment almost a year ago. And so we used the same allotment formulas for the schools as far as personnel were concerned. So even though we're receiving $16 million less, we had enough in our reserves to be able to overcome that for this year and not have any layoffs at our schools, which was significant in and of by itself.
Yeah, and I'm sure you all have received a lot of feedback from employees happy to be still employed with the Cumberland County Schools.
Yes. Yeah, I think they understood that we went through some tough times, and they appreciated what we had done, and again, because we had a strong financial staff. Sometimes I get a little upset when I hear people say, well, we cut vacant positions. Well, we would have gladly filled those positions if they had not shortened us on our money. So our class size went up, I think, about an average of 2 per class. We would have gladly kept our class size the same. So it's true that we did it where I think we were only down to maybe 60 or 70 people we actually had to give pink slips to, but we lost close to 400 positions 2 years ago, and this year, if we didn't have the reserve, it'd be close to 200, I believe, isn't it?
Yes, that's correct. And so we had over 7,000 full-time employees 4 years ago. We're down below 6,600 now. So over a 4-year period, we've seen significant cuts. And once again, like Dr. Till was saying, there may be a vacancy, but that may be a class that somebody's not able to take in high school because you're not able to offer those AP classes that you're able to offer before. There may be another section of math that you can't offer because you don't have the number of people that can teach those particular classes. So sometimes people get caught up in the vacancy versus the layoffs, and I think that they need to be looked at together. How many positions do you no longer have that were affecting kids in the classroom?
Okay. And I think the good thing is, though, it seems as though we're still continuing to soar, even with the numbers that we have. My mind goes to even our dropout recovery launch party. I think years ago we kind of had school social workers go out and pull those students in. But this year we've done something a little different, because of that, not having that funding to pay for those social workers over the summer to do that. Talk to us a little bit about the dropout recovery.
Well, first off, we did have dollars one year, and the people went out and recovered students. This year we didn't have the dollars, And the same group of people said, we care enough about these children that although we'll not be paid, we're going to go out and recover them. And so on August 2nd at our Fuller Performing Center, we actually had over 100 people come who dropped back in. And the significance is we had another 100 who wanted to drop back in who weren't there. So we're actually in a dropout program at a wait list status that we're trying to figure out how to bring down the wait list. And the beautiful thing that happened in an anecdotal point of way is we had several parents who came, brought their children, dropped back into school, and found that there was an opportunity for them to drop back in too. So we actually recovered several parents who are now back in school also.
Isn't that awesome? That is awesome. I actually heard some conversation. A couple of older ladies knew of some young people who had dropped out, and even looking at how the community has become involved with that whole effort. And speaking of which, talk to us a bit about how our community can become more involved in the school systems to help us move along the way.
Well, we've been fortunate with community involvement, and it certainly benefits our schools. When you have parents, you have a strong community base, you have businesses that buy into what we're doing and they believe in what we're doing, it makes a significant difference and everyone benefits. As a matter of fact, plenty of research out there that will prove that where you have strong parental support, businesses, community support, and it's a good mixture, that schools actually thrive because of that strong business partnership, parental involvement, and the community aspect. And we certainly think that our schools should be part of the community. We want our schools to reflect what our communities are like. I was at a school yesterday with Dr. Till and walked around, and the parents were just telling each of us and the principal how happy they were, and I saw smiling children, and I saw a young man, a little kindergarten kid who had a tear, and he came back and the principal pulled out a little ticket and gave it to this young man and said, hey, I really appreciate that smile. But I saw caring people and I saw caring professionals who were making every effort possible to make sure that those kids had their first day a successful day, and it would not be so had it not been for that kind of belief in the school that their children were attending. So it's critical. That's critical. And we would certainly encourage all parents to get involved in all the school activities they can. We certainly would solicit any business or businesses that would like to call the Cumberland County Schools and say, hey, what can I do, realizing that times are tough, what can I do to make a difference? Yeah. And we've had that kind of response. And
I think the beautiful thing I love about Cumberland County is its giving. For example, we've started school, they stuffed the bus at Walmart on a Friday, stuffed it. We gave out those backpacks. The library system and the Office of the Deeds gave out 1,400 backpacks. We've got schools, churches in fact, who have given uniforms to every child in the school. We have backpack buddies, which means that a child will have something to eat on the weekend all year long when there's nothing to eat. And you begin to go on and on. Mr. Lancaster's church, they raise money for eyeglasses. The Lions do eyeglasses. I mean, what's amazing to me is the level of just pure caring about our children. And one of the things we hope to do this year is maybe bring it tighter together so people know all that's going on. Because if you're not sitting in my chair, you may not know all the things that this community does for our children.
That's good.
And also, teachers who, I've said it before, you can pay someone to teach, but you can't pay someone to care. And those caring teachers go out and out of their money, out of their pockets, they're buying shoes, supplies. They're doing all kinds of things for the children in this county that we recognize and they recognize. They just don't have what they need. And so they're making a real concerted effort to make sure that happens, that no child goes without.
And it would be remiss if we didn't tell people we actually have a mentoring program that's growing around Fuller and places like that. And Mr. Lopes and I are part of a primary reading program. So there's programs out there that if people want to get involved with our children, there's opportunity either to read to primary kids or to be a mentor for a child. You know, I tell people with 53,000 students, but in a community of 300,000, we've got them outnumbered 6-to-1 or 5-to-1. So every child should have a quality adult, and we have a lot of children at school that do not have a quality adult in their life except for that classroom teacher.
Yeah. And I see in talking with our co-workers, those who act as mentors are very serious about their roles, and they are really tracking the students, making sure they're doing what they're supposed to. It's almost like they've taken the child on as a mother or a father. Very serious about their role, as a mentor in the school-based mentor program.
Checked on mine yesterday.
Oh, did you?
Heard from him today.
That's good.
Still wants his schedule changed.
Oh.
Still wants his schedule changed. But we're working on it.
We're working on it.
The good news, he's back in school and he's going to be successful.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Now, I know another way that we were talking about community involvement through our CTE program, Career Technical and Education program. We've gotten a lot of involvement from the community there as well. Talk to us about that.
Well, what we're doing is we're taking a look at our whole career and technical education program. We understand that every child's not going to college, but every child needs training beyond the high school level. So a lot of people say, well, they don't go to college. Well, Career and Technical says that there are some technical fields out there. In fact, they're going to need high skills. And so we've formed a committee with the FTCC and Methodist College and FSU and the county, and we're actually looking at ways to expand that out and look at what we're doing to make it relevant. Because if we give you a skill that's no longer needed, it's not relevant. So we're working with the business community. They're expanding out now and want to work with us more, because people begin to see that as the public school system goes, so goes the community. That's been true since Horace Mann in the 1800s. Mm-hmm. And with the results we have here, I think we've got some credibility now in our community. In fact, we want to work with our community and be a part of making Cumberland County, Fayetteville, a premier place for people to come, work, and bring their businesses, and return back from colleges and go to work here.
Exactly. And you know what? I know that we have about 30 seconds, but I want to hear one last word from each of you, real quick. Ricky, you want to start? You're sitting there smiling.
Ricky can always start.
Hopefully we'll have a good year, but unfortunately we don't know what the future holds from a funding standpoint, but we will do the best we can with what we have to make Cumberland County Schools a success.
Okay.
That's great.
Had a great year last year, going to be hard to duplicate it, but we believe we can, and with the focus and commitment that we have, we're going to make it happen. We're going to make it happen.
All right.
Based on the quality of our teachers, our staff, and our kids, we're going to do better than last year.
All right. Woohoo! Right?
That's right.
Go team.
Go team.
Celebrating True North. All
Yeah.
right. Well, thank you all so very much for joining us, okay?
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Right. Well, on behalf of the Cumberland County School System, we want to thank you for tuning in to this edition of our show and for giving us a chance to help you get connected. Until next time.